Right, welcome everyone to the January 14th, 2025 work session. The work session is now called to order. First up, we have strategic plan, recap of affordable housing, homelessness, planning and code, blight, urban revitalization, and water and sewer sustainability. Turn it over to Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought maybe how we'd work and address this to get your discussion going and get some ideas down on paper would be, we'll do a brief recap of what Sierra provided, what you all provided Sierra the last time, and then we'll try to work along the same vein for these others and get as far as we can get here in the next half hour, 45 minutes, and we just keep it going. We'll have it scheduled for each session until we get it through. Affordable housing and homelessness solutions. During the discussion, you did address this during the discussion. That was the focus area. The goals that were mentioned, which would, if you remember the plan that we provided you from the last 4 years, these would be the items that are bulleted underneath the focus area, were rental stabilization, zoning for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, a first-time homebuyer program to promote home ownership, support the Choice Neighborhoods program to improve the quality of life in underdeveloped areas, and then develop strategies to reduce homelessness, either through the Homeless Coalition and to get everybody to the table to discuss these strategies. Those were the goals that you would like to see developed. Have you, in the meantime, come up with any others you'd like to bring up?
In addition to reevaluating or assessing rent control.
And you've got that one. Yeah,
That one.
rent stabilization.
Okay.
Evaluate the pros and cons within city as far as rent control would go.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
public safety, a little bit more on that, or
I'm sorry?
public safety, a little bit more on that, or we can.
Yes, I should probably, let's go, that's another focus area. That's got its own, yeah, that's got its own.
Okay.
But
That's all, those are
right.
good?
Yep.
Okay. The other focus areas were planning and code, which includes blight and urban revitalization, water sewer sustainability, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, promoting businesses, economic development, women, veteran, and Black-owned, public safety was its own focus area, social issues, civic pride, arts, community gardens, green space, and then community engagement. So tonight, for the next half hour or so, being that the focus areas would be planning and code, blight and urban revitalization. The next would be water and sewer sustainability. So under those focus areas, we'll start with planning and code, blight and urban revitalization. What would you like to tackle as goals to meet what you were looking for in those focus areas?
I'll go. For me, to increase the city's budget, to expand staffing and ensuring adequate resources for permit holders and inspections. I know we talked, I can't remember now, previously when we had the departments up here, and talked about the resources needed for staffing, some efforts there to at least look into hiring a communication coordinator to make sure that there's clear understanding amongst the city and the permit owners of what's required for them to do. So
Okay.
resources came up in that discussion.
I'm going to, along that line, I'm going to be bringing to you in February, because with Kathy Marr's retirement on the 11th of April, and none of us have been able to talk her out of it yet, so she's going to retire in April. I am going to be bringing to you an organizational change that will help along these lines.
When we talked previously, wanted to revisit and update the city's code and ordinances to reflect the current community needs and priorities. I know, Scott, you mentioned, it's been a while since we looked at those, so be a good opportunity to revisit that.
Okay.
I know we mentioned for legislative wise, the cameras. I don't know if we want to put that on our list too,
Mm-hmm. Okay,
for the inspectors to wear, cameras.
Body cameras.
for the body cameras.
Body
Yep.
cameras, yeah.
Anybody else off the top of your heads?
I had a lot, but it goes with what you mentioned. So are we just talking about planning and coding right now?
Yeah, just planning, just code and then any blight and urban revitalization, you might.
I was also thinking of, I had said this before, like a checklist that kind of outlines the necessary steps.
Yep,
When, starting, business. And that goes from applying for the permits and understanding your next and final steps. A little extra help for first-time businesses, maybe even like, once a month workshops and forums to learn and understanding zoning and code.
okay. Okay,
I think that new development and redevelopment, you know, probably speaking the obvious, but I mean, they're two very different things. And I think that more often than not, 90% of the feedback I've received in the past when it comes to housing are concerns from folks trying to do the redevelopment thing. And I don't think that that really matters if it's just the one person doing one property to you know, the group of individuals doing a larger project. But I think I said this before, that, you know, when I did some work in Montgomery County, they would sort of have an initial meeting, and I don't know if we do that here, but where, you know, that applicant sort of gets to sit in a single initial meeting with the requisite department folks, you know, that they're going to engage through that process. In other words, for me, like if you do a new housing development, you're starting from scratch, you go through that planning process, it's a pretty like cut and dry thing, right? And most of your typical developers are doing that stuff on just a regular basis. And the redevelopment, I think, is a bit foreign at times to folks trying to engage in that. And I think that it's just some of that, you know, absence of being aware of, you know, the additional stuff that goes along with trying to put a place back into good, you know, use. That you see a lot of faces over sort of, you know, a period where you're trying to keep up. And if you could just have that initial meeting where, you know, fire and electric and plumbing and stuff were there and said, you know, here's what you're gonna need, here's what you're gonna need, here's our step in the process, and could sort of understand that out of the gate. I know that adds a little bit of time, but for me, I think it would save a little bit of time on the back end from folks, you know, calling or coming in or, you know, having those uncertainties that you otherwise then have to sort of deal with in a reactive
yeah.
fashion.
For the larger ones, like the Lowe's, North Point, Kerwood, those meetings take place and they continue on through the development. For the smaller ones, not so much.
Yeah.
I think we can do better. I think we could do better there.
Are you talking about where they can meet with city and go over everything that
Yeah.
that it takes for that building to come up to code, and that way everybody knows up front
Right.
exactly.
And the dialogue starts before anybody spends a dime on
Yeah.
any of the renovation, right?
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing I will say as it relates to housing and blight and, is, for me, the objective has always been for government to identify and assist in moving properties from blight to productive use, or removing the blight so that the other properties around it, aren't impacted by it. And I just think that for me, like, as we go through this, is understanding what government's role is going to be in conjunction with what, like, we can't do what the Goodwill does. We can't do what the Housing Authority does, and making sure that we maintain, what the limitations or the expectations of our function are in that process.
I am hopeful that Annapolis will allow us to have a bigger role in how that works coming up. We have many municipalities in the same boat that would like to have some of the abilities that Baltimore has when it comes to vacant structures especially. And I'm hopeful that we all gang up, we'll be able to make some progress on that. Yeah, that's good.
I have several more for blight, but and I also, for me, for the public's awareness, I took previous administration's discussions of when we would say, we will do this or look into this next term, or we will look into this later. I also looked at the 2021 survey that was done previously, as well as looking back at our previous goals to see what other areas we can fine tune for the goals that I'm proposing tonight. So in addition, with the blight, I would like to further look into improving the public safety and deterrence by adding more lighting to the alleys and streets. I know we mention that often, but especially with the needle discussion during the social issues, conversations, we brought up about, if there's areas where needles are found often, obviously we contact health department and have those conversations. But if there's a particular area that we keep seeing issues happening, can we do something else in that particular area, like adding lighting? Maybe that'll help for them to not do that there. So that's one. Also about our tax sales properties. If we could actually develop a plan to identify those properties, and on a routine basis. I know we identified, how many now? 30 something?
33.
If we could, on a routine basis, keep coming back to those, and develop a plan of what we're going to do with those. Again, tying that back to the gardening areas, if there's opportunities there that we can remove the structure, have a more community inviting space. And to establish stronger initiatives for purchasing vacant properties with, where's Jill? 263? Am I close? Vacant properties? 200 something? 35. So
235.
close. 235 properties. If we could establish stronger initiative to develop a plan to get people to want to purchase those properties.
That, for those who are for sale,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Which you're gonna find not a whole lot of them are for sale.
okay.
So that goes to the other initiative to, if they're vacant for a period of time, how can you make those productive?
Right,
How can you
right.
move those?
Back
So,
to
yeah,
Kristen's point, or
so-
Councilman's point.
That would be both. Those are for sale. Develop some sort of a program to where we could provide incentive money to help someone purchase a property if they were going to turn it into affordable housing or for whatever like that, something, okay.
Yep,
Yep,
That's
good,
exactly right.
good,
that's it for me, for blight.
okay. Anybody else? Mary, you got any you want to throw out there?
No. Okay, no.
Okay. Then I would say we go from there to water sewer sustainability.
As we mentioned, previous administration, and other work sessions, to revisit the water sewer rate model. Have that as a goal.
Okay.
And obviously to continue to support improvements to our water system and reservoir to ensure safe, reliable water services. I hope everyone can hear me too. I'm at this cough. It won't go away, but hope everyone can hear.
Okay.
I assume we're talking to this issue on the broad scale of water and sewer, right? Not specific to just housing and things like that. Yeah, I mean, well, for me, it's the same that it has been, and
Sure.
that's a discussion on securing, long-term supply on the water side. In whatever capacity that ends up being. Obviously, my vote is always, securing adequacy of storage resource, so that you're not depending on, immediate supply chain. And for me, that's Edgemont Reservoir. And I think that we need to go to bat harder than we have been with the state to recognize, it's hard for me to fathom when you go up there and you hear that the state has told you that, something you built 100 years ago and has withstood the test of time is suddenly, imminently in danger of not functioning properly. When you look at it, just the sheer scale of it, it's nonsensical. So, I'm hoping that we get to an answer on that, fairly quickly. And then on the sewer side, as I have said previously, we have limitations. I think we talked about, identifying opportunities to ease some of that, and so, unlike water, I think that because we share those systems in a much more robust nature with the county on the sewer side of things, we just need to plan in a way that ensures that, the efficient direction of flow go to the system that can most cost effectively provide that.
Okay.
So those are my two big ones on each side of that equation.
Anybody else?
Could we look into like the rain garden setups for water sustainability? More of like a green approach
To conservation
for like stormwater.
for storm, okay, yep.
I think a good example of that is about 15 years ago when Potomac Edison was informed, that of its own evaluation, that it just wasn't going to have enough electric supply, within the region, and it started looking at, 500 kilowatt lines and et cetera, and realized that there was a public pushback to being able to accomplish those system upgrades. And then I think it looked at the sheer cost associated with those upgrades, that I think some of the counters at Potomac Edison realized that if we could just provide people assessments of using more efficient light bulbs and things like that, we could save ourselves the time, headache, and money of, building these expansions to cater to, larger inefficient electric usage than, providing avenues for more efficient electric usage and not having to build those lines as soon, not having to expand those systems as broadly. And I feel like that's sort of the marching order that they're still on.
Yeah.
To do
And that's
that.
been a big topic, rain gardens throughout the state and also the region. So I think it's good. It's good. I would encourage all of you, Councilman Alshire and Councilwoman Burnett have already done this. I would encourage all of you, before the budget discussions start, to arrange with Nancy to visit the water treatment plant down at R.C. Wilson. And they do a great job of providing tours down there. Also go to the wastewater treatment plant, take a look at that. And then when budget time starts, you can kind of put some of the discussions that will come up from staff, you can put faces to names, so to speak. I would also recommend that you talk to Chief Kiefer on a ride-along with HPD if you've never done that, as well as talk to Paul Falk back there about a ride-around with code and see what an inspector does each day. Just to familiarize yourself with that before we start budget, because it makes it a lot, to be more familiar with the operations, makes it a little bit easier to understand what we're talking about as far as when we ask for particular budgets for projects and those kind of things, especially when it comes to the CIP, capital improvement plan. So I leave it to you all if you're interested to reach out to them and set something up. Okay. Anything else on water and sewer?
As part of that rate study evaluation, I will reiterate the same pitch that I made, I guess it was last year, the year before last with Smithsburg. We are a water supplier of 3 municipalities in Washington County, who basically then duplicate what we're doing with finished water at a cost to their customer base that, in my opinion, is more expensive than if we were just direct providers to those systems. And I just think that we need to have that conversation with those 3 municipalities, to at least explore the possibility of taking over, buying out those systems, which benefit both us, the provider, and the folks that live within those municipalities, the customers, and the customers outside of those towns that they also serve. Because in the end, the reality is, as a larger provider, we're able to sort of, sell the widgets at a cheaper cost that the customer can buy it, which, we get more customers and they get to buy the product at a cheaper price. And it gets those 3 municipalities out of the water business where they're basically buying finished water and then just reselling.
Okay. You got anything on this one?
No, I agree with Kristen on searching for our, looking into our reservoirs and more water storage. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good, the fire chief gave me a good email from this weekend, because the tragedy of Los Angeles, and I was making sure that we're prepared as a city, because I don't want us to be cut off guard, and making sure we have water and fire hydrants and things like that.
And that might be
Things.
and that might be a good work session thing to bring back to familiarize you all on the zones, the water zones. You won't really get into that much on if you tour a plant, but Nancy or Tyler Puffenberger could come and just explain, especially on the outer zones, how the pressure and what we have done as a city to make sure we have increased pressure out there. Especially as the county increases development out in those areas, and if those are our water customers, we need to make sure that we have enough pressure and enough volume out there. So I think that would be a good work session item to come back with.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yep, okay. Okay, what I will do is I will go ahead and start with the affordable housing, and then the 2 we've discussed tonight. put those in that same kind of format we had for the last administration. And I'll get those out to you in the next week. Because we're in budget discussions now, so I'll get those out as soon as I can. And then next Tuesday, we'll go into diversity, equity, and inclusion, economic development, and public safety. And if we can go further, we'll go further, any amount of time.
Yes, because I would love to hear from staff as well.
Okay, on,
How they can tie into our goals, or if there's other goals that they have in mind as well.
oh, sure, we can do that.
What was, you said, which were the three we were going over next week? You said?
DEI, economic development, which would include promoting, minority business, veteran business, women, Black-owned, and public safety.
And community engagement.
Yeah, that's later down the list.
Oh,
So
okay.
we can work through as many as we can get through.
Okay,
If you want to do an hour, have an hour, 45-minute discussion, we'll just get through as many as we can get through. Did you all get Sierra's notes from the goal setting, the first one we had? I'll send these to you. I thought she sent them to all of you.
because we need to, I don't think we came back to look at our vision and mission again.
She's got those on here, yeah, she's
Yeah,
got those
so-
on here.
Yeah, we didn't get that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will, I'll send these out to you.
Perfect.
Who are you saying?
Huh?
Who was the name you said?
Oh, Sierra, the woman that facilitated.
Oh, okay, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yep, I'll make sure I get them to you.
Okay.
All right, good.
Good to go, thank you.
Yes. All right, next up is the presentation from the Save Locomotive 202 group.
Yeah, they're all here. Good. Oh, thank you, sir. No problem, sorry about that.
Let's see if you diverge.
Anybody not get a pen with their presentation?
Did you get a packet?
Madam Chairman.
Is it the same as what's in the
Yes,
packet?
the actual, so, no, so the packet is actually a broader representation of what the PowerPoint is
Okay.
going to be on. So
Then you
that
can
way,
have
when
mine
I
on.
leave you have more information at your hands than what's going to be displayed on the screen,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Hello, thank you all for having us here today on behalf of the topic Locomotive 202, the antique steam engine that's located at Hagerstown City Park. We are excited to come to you with a solution to what we don't want to see as an issue ever, but a solution to how to upkeep the locomotive going forward. So on our agenda today, we'll go over the history, we'll have our mission, some data analysis, a growth strategy, a possible agreement that we could come to with the city of Hagerstown, and then projected milestones and options for the city to choose from as they partner with us going forward. So my name is Karen Dunn Swafford. I am part of the group Save Locomotive 202. I have always had an interest in trains. Living in or growing up in the surrounding Hagerstown area, there are always trains going through everywhere. I pass a train track every single day that I go to work, and I've passed that track ever since I was an adolescent. Watching the trains and having grown up around them, I've actually passed that interest on to my children. And my children, everything is trains. Trains for toys, trains on the TV, trains on the tablet, and also the Locomotive 202 is of an interest to them. They love to board the cabin, ring the bell with me. It's a great time, and it's something that I want to make sure that future generations of children get to experience that, and future generations of parents as well get to experience that moment with their children. So my colleague Rich here is going to actually start by going over some history of the locomotive, a brief history overview.
Thanks, Karen. Mayor, council, thanks for having us here. I'm sure by now you all figured out, like, I'm the train guy.
Yeah.
Told Karen the other day, I went into a store and they said, oh, it's the train guy. So again, we do thank you for having us here. Just a few brief points of history that are very significant to Hagerstown, because we know that you have been educated very thoroughly on the history. Locomotive 202, as it's become known, has been in the city of Hagerstown's park for over 7 decades, 70 years. During this period of time, the city of Hagerstown government has invested already countless thousands of dollars into one of the most beautiful parks, and certainly the very unique train hub and museum that exists in the city park. But 202 itself is the last remaining Western Maryland Railroad K2 mainline steam engine in the entire world. Pretty special if you think about it, that Hagerstown could have something that magnitude, that is the only one left in the world. It was built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1912 and retired in the late 1940s, early 1950s. It made its way into the city park in the late 1953 timeframe and has a really interesting story on how it got down in there, which I'd be happy to tell anybody outside of here if you're interested. At the time that 202 came into the city park, the president of the Western Maryland Railroad was a gentleman by the name of Arthur Groats. And our mayor here in Hagerstown was a gentleman by the name of Winslow Burhans, who Burhans Boulevard was later named after. They struck an agreement I'm sure through much communication, that Locomotive 202 would thereafter and forever be donated to the children of Hagerstown. Something that the museum at the park and ourselves and everyone acknowledges has been very special throughout those 7 decades and holds true to today. It was maintained by the Western Maryland Railroad, which was really nice because you didn't have to have us here and listen to us talk and all that stuff, because the Western Maryland Railroad existed and took care of it for many years to come, until such time that the B&O absorbed the Western Maryland, later came into the Chessie system, rail system, and then now is ultimately CSX. But when the Western Maryland Railroad was absorbed by the B&O, that agreement to maintain the locomotive obviously ceased. Throughout the 70s into the latest restoration of 2008, off and on, numerous groups and the city itself has done much to keep the locomotive looking good and, well displayed in the park. August of 1984, a very special event occurred, and it was added to the National Register of Historic Places. Again, something I think Hagerstown can be extremely, extremely proud of. Most recently, just this past July 2024, it was awarded a historical transportation marker, which the previous mayor was able to go out and assist in unveiling that marker. So just some bullet points, some high points of why this locomotive is so special to the city of Hagerstown. And I'll turn it back over to my colleague for the mission.
So our mission is to gain your support as the city council to continue the city's ownership of Locomotive 202. We would like to offer to assemble a 501c3 nonprofit organization in order to help alleviate some of the responsibilities or all of the responsibilities of the train from the actual city. With that, we would partner with you, the city officials, to gain restoration or to throughout the restoration process. So depending on how much responsibility you would like to offer the nonprofit organization, they could, we as the nonprofit organization would be able to request restoration quotes on behalf of the city, come to you with bid amounts for the city to thereafter approve, and we could have any kind of responsibility you would like us to have. We would be able to start raising funds, accepting funds through private donations, grants, fundraisers, and businesses. We would help increase promotions for the Locomotive 202 and Train Hub Museum area, and we would advertise it as an attraction for small and large-scale events, train-related or not. We want to bring people to see the train. We would be able to utilize volunteers and interns to allow the Train Hub Museum and Locomotive 202 area to expand the weekly hours of operation. We would start by opening on Sundays, we would hope, and then take it from there to expand hours through the week as well. We would also be partnering with public and private educational institutions at all levels of learning to hone in on the railroad heritage and its substantial effect on the development of the city of Hagerstown. We are the hub city, so, we need to remind people why we have that name outside of just being the hub city now for all of the roads that travel through us. Our ultimate goal as a nonprofit, that would be partnering with the city through Locomotive 202 effects. We would like to multiply the Train Hub Museum and Locomotive 202's attendance, the collection there, as well as the notoriety of the museum.
Okay, I'm going to speak just a few points on some data. Currently, Locomotive 202 and the Train Hub area at the park is open and available to the public Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This in the months of April through October. It's approximately 12 hours per week, 32 weeks a year. Locomotive 202 logged around 3,800 visitors in the year of 2023, which averages approximately 10 patrons per hour. Now, on the surface, that may not seem a lot, but what we have to remember is, again, it currently is open just a limited amount of time to the public. So 10 patrons per hour, and those kind of numbers kind of fall in line with the amount of time that it's open. National statistics show that heritage tourists and that's defined as tourists specifically traveling to a certain place, such as Hagerstown, for a historical railroad experience, spend 22% more money and stay 80% longer than if they would not be traveling there for historical purposes. What we would like to do is work with the city to increase the above mentioned with little or no additional burden whatsoever to the city of Hagerstown government and certainly to the mayor and the city council. We're willing to take on that responsibility to try to bring all of those numbers up as an added benefit to such a partnership. And I'll turn it back over to Karen for growth strategy.
So we do have, there is a lot of data that we don't have, a lot of logistical information that we don't have from the city, to be honest. We are absolutely open and understand that idea. However, with the data that we have, we are offering this nonprofit organization partnership. Our growth strategy would be by starting to accept funds from the private and public sectors. We, to date, actually have pledges already of up to $5,000. That's on hold for whenever we do open up the floodgates for donations. We would look forward to partnering with all educational institutions, from TOTS through continued education, from elementary school through HCC, bringing in interactive campaigns either into the schools about railroad heritage or bringing them on site to Locomotive 202 and the Train Hub Museum for excursions on site. We look to market the Train Hub Museum as a designation or a destination for birthday parties, private events, city organized events, while including making sure that we do provide events that are free and open to the public at the same time. We look to raise enough funds and gather enough volunteers to expand the hours of operations at the Train Hub Museum. And we also look to expand the gift shop options. Something small, but something mighty, having Locomotive 202 gear. Somebody went to go see Locomotive 2 and all I got was the stupid t-shirt. Sure, let's do it. Let's bring these ideas to the table. And then also we want to open up the memorabilia donations as well as allowing on loan materials to expand the Train Hub Museum area and the Locomotive 202 area. If the city should decide to keep Locomotive 202, we do have information on a possible agreement, things that we would want to keep in mind as we would go forward with the nonprofit union with the city.
Okay, the meat and potatoes, if you will, the agreement. We do have a very rough draft agreement. We don't have it with us this evening. The main reason for that is because, again, Karen will get into more of the specifics. We're extremely flexible to work with this group and other city officials, not on the council, to come up with an agreement that the city is very pleased with. And we tried to hone that in and thought, you know what, it would be easier to work with people at the table that were from the city to get this language the way we want it. But just a little bit of an overview, as Karen had said and as we had said, Save Locomotive 202 would apply almost immediately for nonprofit status once the city council determines that, you know what, we like what you've said to us. We want to try to keep this locomotive in Hagerstown. The name at that time would also be changed to something more appropriate. And again, that could be flexible and the city could have input in that as well. We have an agreement that we're looking at, that we've made a commitment to ourselves and to the city of Hagerstown and to the mayor and his council, whomever that might be, that we would create this agreement for what we're calling a 10-year conservatorship. During that 10-year period of time, you could have, and Karen will get into the details, you could have as much or as little involvement in this locomotive as you wanted to. We will also work with the city to determine what responsibilities. There may be some things that we as citizens don't realize that you, mayor and council, may want to continue to keep your fingers on because it is a piece of city heritage and city history. So we would like to set with whomever would be responsible for that and flesh that out. We would like to discuss with the city, because we don't currently have a nonprofit status, as to whether or not the city would be willing to be our banker, if you will. We'll take full responsibility for raising all the funds, collecting the monies. We'll have a treasurer. We'll keep all the financial records, but we could turn the money over as it was raised to an account that could be in total control of Hagerstown city government, if that's permissible. We don't know, that it is or it isn't, but that would be a help for us, at least initially. And at some point, as our group grew and our talent depth pool grew, we could certainly have our own accounts and things of that nature. Also, the quote process. Again, there may be some folks in city government that would like to continue to be involved in obtaining quotes for Locomotive 202. That's perfectly okay with us, but we're also fully prepared to take on all that responsibility. And that would also apply to the grant writing process that you see in the top of the second column. We have 2 trained grant writers in our group right now that have written successful grants, some in excess of $100,000. And we are more than willing to take that full process on, but you may have some people with extreme talents in those areas as well that could benefit us both. The nonprofit will maintain responsibility to continually care for the locomotive beyond the restoration. It's very important you understand, and the city of Hagerstown as a whole understands, we're not going to restore this locomotive and disappear. That's why the 10-year conservatorship. We're going to get the locomotive restored to its once beautiful luster that it had, and we're going to stick around to maintain it through working Saturdays, working weekends to keep it looking that way. Again, the city of Hagerstown would continuously own the train. We are not looking to assume any type of ownership for the locomotive. It would belong to the city, and we would be taking care of one of their historical assets. At the end of roughly the 8th year, looking into the 9th year, we would recommend with the city council, the mayor and the council at that time, that we sit down in that period of time and look to whether we want to create a new 10-year agreement covering the next decade, and if so, how we wanted to modify the agreement, or at such time, or any time through here that the city said, we're just not satisfied, or we just have no interest in this, they could determine that they don't want to renew the 10-year conservatorship for another 10 years. Finally, the last thing in the agreement is we would like to offer someone from the city of Hagerstown a seat on the nonprofit organization that we establish. That could be any city official, or it could be someone that's sitting at this table right now, so that you would have a vote on the board of directors for the nonprofit organization. And I will turn it over to Karen now for some projected milestones.
So with where we're trying to go with a nonprofit partnership, we have set some light milestones. So within the first 6 months of the city and nonprofit organization, or Save Locomotive 202 coming together, we would say within 6 months, we would have official nonprofit organization status. We would also be insured and bonded at that point. Within the first year of the nonprofit being formed, we would have completed restoration quotes that we would be able to review. Then by year 2, we would like to have set goals and for our fundraisers. So we would want to make sure that we establish whatever the final restoration quote is. We establish that for a fundraising goal by the end of year 2. And then it is our hopes to start restoration as soon as possible, as soon as we do get the funds. We project that we would hope within 3.5 years, we would be having the restoration started or completed. That all would start upon raising the funds. We would have maintenance started on it immediately though. So touch-ups, things like that, cleaning it, we would go at it, we would get volunteers, all of that kind of stuff right away. The next slide that we have goes over options. And I want you guys to think of the partnership as sort of an a la carte option. So you can pick and choose what you would like the nonprofit to do. We could request the quotes, you guys could take care of the grant writing, we could both do fundraising opportunities, we could provide volunteers for things, we could do a partnership down the middle 50-50, however that logistically would work out would be up to you guys. Rich is gonna bring us on home now.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Okay, so Mayor and Council, to summarize, we're prepared to form a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a name suitable to the honor of the city of Hagerstown, to the Western Maryland Railroad workers, as well as other railroad workers, and the best interest of the locomotive moving forward, as soon as you give us the go-ahead to do so. We want to continue to work with the city government and officials to obtain quotes for not only the locomotive, but also for any type of protective structure enhancements or any other things at the train hub that the city may like us to assist with. We're going to create some fundraising opportunities through events and sponsorships. We're not going to disappear. Many of you saw us on the streets on some very cold nights at City Park and some other places. If you all determine that, you know what, we like these folks, we believe in them and we're gonna let them do it, you'll see us on the streets again. I was already looking today to see what's coming up here in the first quarter that we might be able to plug into. So we're not gonna disappear. Work together to apply for grants. We believe that the grant that the city already has is a great step in the right direction. Of course, we thank the city government for taking that initiative, and we hope to at least double that amount, if not triple that amount as time goes on. We complete the restoration, keeping as much of the work done in the city of Hagerstown as we possibly can. Now, I've been told there's little or no resources left in the city of Hagerstown to do such a thing. I personally don't believe that. I think Hagerstown can do anything it wants to do if it puts its mind to it. But certainly, we would keep as much of the work and the monies in Washington County as possible. Meaning, if we had an option to do some work and somebody in Hagerstown could sell the product necessary for the work, the money's going to go in that pocket of that Hagerstown business person. We would prepare to assume responsibilities again for Locomotive 202 for a minimum of 10 years. There's got to at least be one person at this table that's tired of hearing about, say, Locomotive 202 and would like to not hear about us for 10 more years. So be honest, you could be, tell me later, okay? And the city of Hagerstown would still own Locomotive 202. That's the beautiful thing for the duration of the agreement. So at any time they determined this was not going the way they had envisioned it, they could pull the plug on it. And in closing, again, with the summary, we'll keep and restore Locomotive 202 for the children of Hagerstown and the retired railroad workers for all the railroads that work and pass through Hagerstown as a bit of a memorial, if you will, for many decades to come. And are there any questions at this point?
Question.
Yeah.
And I may have missed it in some of the material that you provided. How much, do you have a projected number of how much it is to restore it?
So back in 2023, there were requests put through for bids. A bid came through for $3.3 million. That was the only bid that the city of Hagerstown actually acquired. So that's all they went off of when reviewing the amount of grant money, which is at $633,000, when reviewing the amount of grant money compared to what that bid was, it was just too astronomical to even think about, like, how are we gonna raise another $2.5 million for this project? So I think going back into it and re-evaluating the restoration quotes and resubmitting for restoration quotes, I think is the best thing. I actually know offhand that there are some open work orders with some restoration companies throughout the nation that, so all we have to do is, with some of these places, reopen these quotes that have already been
So there's
been submitted.
particular companies that specialize in the restoration?
Yes,
Right.
oh, yeah.
Probably less
Yes,
than 10 in
there's,
the nation.
Gotcha.
yes.
And so then you're saying the nonprofit would
Mm-hmm.
be responsible for coming up with the money for the
Yeah.
restoration and the upkeep?
Yes, correct. Yes, we would assume that role for the next 10 years, given that's the responsibility that you would like us to take over. It is going to just be evaluated by what you would like us to do. We can do whatever you need us to on behalf of the city, or so let's say I go and get a quote. I could go and get a quote, compare it with 3 other quotes, and then say, okay, I think this is the best quote, and then bring it to you guys and say, hey, do you approve this quote? Or I could bring all 4 quotes to you, you evaluate them, think what the best quote is. It's really a pick and choose on how much you want us to actually take over the responsibility of it. We can come to you with, hey, this is the best bid, this is what it's gonna cost overall. And you guys can say, okay, yes, we trust you with your knowledge and your expertise and all of the experts that we have on hand to make sure that we review all of our options.
In short, though, it is
Yeah,
not,
sorry.
it is not our intention. Well, we didn't really clarify this anywhere else. We want to clarify this for you. Aside from the over $600,000 that we are under the impression is already setting somewhere in the grant that was already obtained, it is not our plan to ask the city of Hagerstown for any additional monies whatsoever. So at whatever you're spending right now to keep the train hub running would be the amount that you would spend on this. Unless we brought something to you and said, hey, would you like to go in on this at some point, what have you. So the short of it is, and the real important thing is to remember that it will not cost you any more money, although we are relying on that $600,000 grant that we believe may be setting somewhere.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just want to leave you with this picture. This is Locomotive 202 back in 1953 when it was dedicated to the children of Hagerstown. It was a huge event. The women wore their mink stoles and just everyone dressed in their Sunday best. And it was something that really brought the community together, the unveiling of the train being displayed in Hagerstown. And this is something that has happened again. Locomotive 202 has come up as a topic in Hagerstown, and we have all of these people coming together over one great topic, you know, the locomotive. So I just want to leave you with this picture because this is what we can have happen again if we do keep the train and restore it. We can have this community event all over again.
And you may not have to wear your mink stoles, but we
No,
we
but-
fully intend to pack the park with that many people on the day that we unveil this. And that's why we chose that picture, because just fast forward that picture about 7 decades, and, you know, we would all be in that picture unveiling this, hopefully, Mayor, while you're still, you know, in office, unveiling this for hopefully the next 7 decades. So,
Thank you for your
any
time.
final questions?
No, I just want to thank you for joining us. I know you reached out to all of us, and you've been at
You're
every
wonderful
regular
people,
session,
by the
so
way.
I felt it would
Thank you.
be helpful for you guys to at least present to the public in a more structured way of your efforts.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would it be out of line to ask what the next steps are at this point?
This is on the draft agenda again in February. I can't remember what the date is,
Okay,
for
Say that again?
another discussion.
Oh,
okay. So we may or may not be asked to come back in.
Matt, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
you too.
All right, next up, Workday software discussion. Dave Gordon, Senior Data Analyst and Project Manager, Matthew Green, Workday Local Government Account Executive, and Casey Dowd, FryPoint Director of Sales.
And before they get started, I do want to introduce our new IT manager, started yesterday, is in the audience, Orrin Reed. So welcome to Orrin. Dave is the project lead on the Workday migration from Munis, and he's in the hot seat, first time ever, so pepper him. And
It is my first outing, and it is.
there you go. Don't embarrass you. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, you won't.
So, over the course of the last nearly year, we have been working through RFP process to find a replacement product for our Munis system, our current ERP package that we use that underlies everything in the city. The RFP went out at the beginning of March of last year. We began demonstrations in July, and through a lot of conversation and a lot of back and forth, reaching out to references, things like that, we feel that, as a committee, as myself, that the Workday platform is going to be our best solution as the replacement for the Munis ERP system that we currently have. So we have brought in Matt Green from Workday and Al from FryPoint to just kind of give you guys a brief overview as to, you know, what the next generation of this software can look like for us and the benefits it's going to bring to not only the employees as well as the citizens of the city of Hagerstown.
Thank you, Dave. I'll also be joined by Casey. I'm Matt Green, the account executive aligned to the city of Hagerstown with Workday. I'm also accompanied by Tom Held and Tim Snyder from a leadership perspective, aligned to the city of Hagerstown. So to Dave's point, we're going to spend some time walking through a high level of the ERP project. So when we think about the case for change, we think about it from a 5-step process. The first step is to ensure that the technology enables both finance and HR to reach their strategic goals. Once that happens, step 2 is to streamline finance and HR business process as well as the citizen-facing services. Step 3 is to shift focus to really analyze that business and focus more from a partnership perspective versus just managing a software system. Step 4 will allow you to enable faster and more informed decisions, really having access to your data and having that transparency within the solution. And then step 5 is being able to realize that strategic and economic value from the software solution. As Dave said, in March, the request for a proposal was released. From a Workday perspective, the RFP was really well-written in regards to the current challenges and what the future scope for the city of Hagerstown would want to be. So to the right, you'll see some of the requirements that were listed within the RFP, having full integration between financial modules, open integration, compatibility with Microsoft Office tools, access within the different city departments, real-time processing, importing payroll, easy ways to export data, and having a reliable and responsive system. To the left, you'll see kind of the steps that we went through. Initially, the RFP was released in March. We had Workday and SpryPoint and some of our other partners responded to that RFP. We then went through on-site demonstrations, discovery calls, really understanding what the requirements were of the city, and then also showing that solution of what we thought that future state would be for the city from an HR, finance, utility billing, tax, and permitting perspective. Some of what we heard and some of what we see regularly when our customers have legacy systems are really having limitations with functionality, having to have updates of those systems regularly, which puts a strain on IT as well as the workforce. A lack of visibility and transparency into the data, having multiple silo systems that don't speak. You make an update in one system, it doesn't speak to the next system, which can cause error internally. Also, cybersecurity is really important. So having those multiple systems can kind of, put you in a tough space from a cybersecurity perspective, and really having limited executive and manager insights. So not having access to data and being able to make those decisions based upon that data. How we can help, you'll have one unified system that'll allow you to have those real-time data insights. The system will be secure. You also have disaster recovery in place in case anything happened. And really, it will be user-friendly, not only internally to the workforce, but then also externally to support your constituents. The ultimate business impact would be to drive operational efficiency and excellence, improve transparency and accountability, and enhance that user experience internally and also externally with your constituents. This kind of gives you an idea of if you were to log into Workday as a user, what that interface looks like. So you can see this person, Jill Jones, is a manager. So she can see at the bottom some of her team highlights and any upcoming items with their team. She can also see what's awaiting for her. So as soon as she logs in, she has access to the information that's important and decisions that need to be made quickly. You also see at the top, there's a search bar, which you can go into and ask pretty much anything in native language. For example, can you pull up my pay slip, or how much time off do I have? And it will take you to that information. Everything is role and access based. So if you are someone in HR, you would have access to the specific information that you're supposed to be able to see. If you're someone in finance, you would have access to that information as well. So from a security perspective, you have access to the correct information. To the right, you'll see the top right, kind of a tab for notifications and messages. So everything within the system will be fully integrated for your users. Also, within this screen is leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning. So as you do specific tasks over time, it will bring that information to your attention as you log into the system. So you're seeing not only data that is important to you, but also tasks that you complete regularly. We also support 37 different languages. So on this screen, you can see the same login, but in Spanish. I'll let Casey speak to the utility billing.
Good evening, everybody. Casey Dowd with SpryPoint. Happy to be here tonight. In lockstep with Workday, SpryPoint supports customer service and operations solutions. So really managing your meter information through to generating cash. This image here is actually just one piece of our solution, being our Spry Engage, our customer engagement portal. So this is really an end-to-end solution for customers to manage all of their self-service, so their phone numbers, their account information, their usage, making payments, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the back end of this, it's a full communications engine. So driving communications out of the application to the customers or to the citizens of Hagerstown. Again, we support multi-language. So as different individuals are accessing said portal, they can set their preferred language and it'll automatically generate the language within the portal to help better communicate with your customer base.
And to Casey's point, you see the same portal in Spanish as well. So being able to support multi-language, you'll be able to support the diversity within the city. This is a walkthrough of the timeline of the implementation. Typically in the past with a legacy software, it might take up to 3 to 5 years to implement that software. So with our launch deployment, you have a faster time to value. So we broke this down into phases. So the first phase is 40 weeks and the second phase is 20 weeks. Within the first phase, you will have access to your core HR solution as well as benefits, payroll, finance, procurement, grants, and utility billing. We're planning on starting that in February, and roughly around this time, you would be live on those solutions next year. In phase 2, we would be finishing up on some of the human resources solutions, planning and budgeting, as well as permitting and tax. And you would be live on that in 2026 around your fiscal year start. In your daily life, you probably are working with or leveraging companies that utilize Workday. So to the left, you'll see Netflix, Google, Airbnb, some of the larger companies within the globe. And then to the right, you'll see some of the cities and counties locally that we work with and the community that you'll be joining next year. So locally, you can see Calvert County, Maryland, the city of Baltimore, University of Maryland, Hartford County are all leveraging Workday today. And lastly, I'll end with a quote from the Director of Human Capital Management at the City of Baltimore. With Workday, we get real-time integrated data. Before, when we had a problem, we were guessing what the answer was, but now Workday allows us to speak with clarity. So really having the transparency and access to data is what our customers appreciate, and really being able to make those better decisions and support their constituents within the different cities and counties is what our customers benefit from. Any questions?
Is this also like the app version also?
Yes. So one thing I forgot to mention was you have access via iPhone. Our application is web-based. So you'll have access via iPad, iPhone. You'll be able to access the solution.
Anybody else?
Funding costs?
Yeah, that, Michelle's there.
So, we previously, if two of you, so many of you are new, but two of you may remember we had come about a year and a half ago, we set aside 1.7 million within our fiscal year 25 budget. And this would be about 2.8 million because we like so many of the functions and the features and hearing all the things that it could do for enhancing the customer experience. You added on. And so I would propose that we take the remaining 1.15 out of fiscal year 24 surplus because we ended the year with 3.8, if you remember. Fund balance reserve, one-time, new system.
Is that suggesting that the general fund would cover the entire cost of this implementation?
Yes, for now.
The utility would not participate in covering any costs because
They are currently providing us with administrative allocation and others, and they're currently assisting with IntelliTime, which is our time and attendance system. They're also providing costs for some of our other computer software. So as we get further along, we could absolutely revisit that, but for now, yes. One of the other features that would be nice is like with our permitting product and stuff, it's going to allow the inspectors to do more timely items out in the field. So the goal is to help everybody be more efficient, but also provide more information readily available for everybody, like mayor and council, to be able to see customers.
So if I understand correctly, we already have funding put aside for this?
1.7 is already dedicated in the fiscal year 25 budget that was approved right within that project, yes.
No, oh, go ahead.
No,
Oh,
I don't want to do it.
that's me. Oh, go ahead. With this platform, for the account billing, we have our utilities billing platform with another.
With Spratlink.
It is?
We would be
This would, yeah.
we would replace your
Okay.
current legacy application.
Okay, thank you, that's what I was
All
going to get to. All of
Yeah,
it, okay.
everything.
Because I wasn't sure if we was gonna have still have separate platforms for different billings, et cetera, okay, so that makes sense. So all streamlined into
One
this
unified
one
platform.
uniform.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Which I'd like to see a demo down the road of it, so.
But
Make
the-
it more navigable.
And I'm sorry. One of the great things was that Invoice Cloud, our current customer payment portal, right? Am I reading your mind?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, they already partnered with Invoice Cloud.
Okay.
And it's one of their strong partners. So we're going to be able to keep that. So that portion that the customers are already accustomed to seeing isn't going to change. But they have real-time information where right now we're not there. You might log in the morning to pay your bill, and you look again in the afternoon and you say, oh my gosh, we paid our bill. Why are you still showing a payment due same day? It's because we have to go through a nightly process before the information comes back and forth between our systems. They've already worked out the real-time interface, so somebody pays online in the customer payment portal, they see their bill will be diminished, paid zero, same time we'll see it in the back end. Right.
May I add?
Please,
Sorry.
please.
And that also, that real-time integration goes back to your usage as well. So if somebody has a leaking toilet, they can log on and see, okay, this is a problem. I need to call somebody to get this fixed and rectified because I'm getting a 15-minute read straight through to the portal. So, and that goes for water, power, sewer, et cetera. So all of that is in real time and accessible by the residents of Hagerstown.
So is that indicating that the meter system being used is sending constant signal?
So right now you're on AMR, you're AMR or AMI, can't remember.
Not yet AMI.
Yeah.
Nathan is back here, but we're working on that at phases, right, on the electric side.
So when you are fully AMI enabled, we will be able to capture those reads in real time, depending on the cycle that you so choose to put it up.
But we're not constantly read current.
No, not current. You have pilot programs right now that in place.
So the question that I had was about the software subscription increasing yearly. Is that due to the increasing amount of users?
It's more based upon an innovation fee.
Okay.
So we're providing with 2 upgrades per year with the software. So we charge that fee just to help with enhancements and continuing to invest within the solution.
Matt, it might also be year 1 and 2 are a little lower because we're implementing in phases, so we're ramping the cost. So we're only charging for the products we're using in those first 2 years, right? So since it's being implemented in phases, we're charging you just for what you're using in year 1, then you're gonna implement more in year 2, and then that's why you see a more constant stream in years 3 through 5.
And we currently do that with our vendor that we
Right.
have.
Okay,
For every product. The largest component of the IT operating budget. We thought you'd be super excited.
No, I am fantastically, like, to have everything under one platform or one umbrella, I mean, that's amazing, less discrepancies. I think this is a great product, to have, so.
Would it also, it wouldn't be email as well, right? Would it be email?
Okay, what, email?
Like, would this all like be one home for
Like, if our
everything?
email is going to be
Yeah, like is
included in
that,
that.
or no, or is it we still?
So you can message in between the solutions. You probably still would have like your Microsoft Outlook, and then we can align the calendars as well.
Microsoft 365 that we just implemented last year will still stand alone from this.
Okay.
This is just replacing the Munis component that we have now, which you guys don't really interface with yourselves directly. You're not in that environment, but that's what it would replace. It's just those components of.
Gotcha.
Your interface with it is mostly with utility billing, paying light, paying water, sewer, that kind of thing, through the online portal or downstairs.
And it will make transparency more, I mean, not that we don't already have that ability for
Right.
citizens to log in now, but you really have to drill around. It's not very friendly to use. This would be a much more friendly to use product and, as they mentioned, AI.
Right, so customers could log on and apply for permits and pretty much see the
Yep.
status and all at the
Okay.
same time.
Yep.
And they can see feedback from inspectors and respond.
That's
That's why we
amazing.
all
Which is
together.
very-
This is
So now
amazing.
we're
Which is
excited.
very cumbersome to do now. It's very cumbersome to do.
They were focused on, we're talking about HR and finance, but, yeah.
Like, why aren't you excited? Oh, okay.
Like, they have the ability to see everything.
Yeah,
all
that's
at once.
pretty
This is great.
Look at something.
So on the agenda for later this month, we would be looking to do either consent or motion to have this approved so that we get purchase orders started into all the different groups, right? So they ready to hit the ground.
Sounds
And
good.
hopefully Warren will still come back for Nate Grant. This is a lot to hit a new IT manager.
Would also the status of like whether the permit passed, would that be on there as well? You could go in, because I'm sure my office is going to ask about this, so,
Should.
okay.
Yeah, you'll be able to see the life cycle. So as Michelle said, with the transparency, you'll be able to see the process of, I mean, and it's all workflow, so you can set it up, but who's touched it, where is it within the process? What the next step is, so have access to that.
Okay.
And when we get further along and we're more into the implementation phase, I'm going to volunteer Warren and all of our partners and Dave to come back and show a little bit of what the product can do.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Just thought it was a little bit much.
Especially
Yeah.
from the customer's perspective, so they
That's
can
what I-
see how to click and stuff and help
It's
us.
gonna be night and day.
Yeah, that's pretty
Miles
good.
above what we have.
Oh,
So almost anything that you can come here to see how personally to do or get, you
Yeah.
can kind of log on to this app.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank these guys. Thank Dave Gordon, who's really taken on a lot of the load with this. Jim Snyder,
Thank
who retired. And this was a cross-functional group. Beth Everhart, Michelle, Paul Falk was involved. Just, it was a group effort. And it's a lot of work. I did it 15 years ago here. And I can appreciate what these guys are going to go through for the next year. And I don't envy them a bit, because it was not fun. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you. guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, just being able to see the status.
Yeah, that
Permit
is,
at the
it
end.
took us
It
all
was
day.
amazing.
Like, we can see stuff.
And I did that. I'm shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah, I think it's,
So I didn't think.
I think one of the things we probably should have touched upon was Pride Point was in the room. What other, Easton utilizes Pride Point for all their billing. So.
Easton,
they were
Maryland.
They were,
Yeah.
Easton, yeah, so they were able to go visit, they were able to see it from a customer perspective and hear from another municipality how it's working.
Okay.
We don't need any more convincing, I promise. I promise.
I
No
like it.
Looking for the future. Don't work too many.
You had me at permitting.
Yeah. We were all stuck at the cost, you know, we were all like looking at the cost. Can we afford this?
All right, next up, response to Senator Paul Quarterman's letter. And I am going to defer to Councilwoman Burnett on this one.
Oh, me? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, because I did ask for it. Actually, in the previous discussions, Councilman Alshire wanted us to bring this back to a work session, but he had to leave at this particular point. But anyway, so
Would you want to,
I want to bring
would
it,
you want to move it
I
until,
wanna bring it
until
back
Kristen
because-
is here?
Councilman
Councilman
Alshire
Alshire?
was the one that kind of delayed, not delayed, but, so real quick. So we did receive a letter from Senator Porterman in the summer during the last administration. We hosted several work sessions to bring in stakeholders that address the concerns identified in the letter. And then we came back to a work session October to have a group summary about it. So I took notes from each of the discussion points from what the stakeholders had to say, what they could do, what the city could do. Because a lot of the conversations were about the responsibility of the city. And we found out during those discussions that a lot of the concerns were not solely the city's responsibility, but it's more of a shared collaborative effort. So I broke down the letter that we had seen in draft of, I wrote what the city could do or has been doing and what other stakeholders could do. So that's the background for that letter. So the letter came out just among us, and then Councilman Alshire wanted us to have another discussion about that particular letter. If anyone else at the time had any other notes to add, but then obviously the election happened and we now have this new body and the conversations are obviously on YouTube, on Facebook. So if anyone has any time to go back to see what was discussed and then look at the draft letter before we meet again, because I think that Councilman Alshire should be here to continue the conversation. But we do want to formally give the senator a letter to acknowledge that, yes, we received it, yes, we talked about it. And here's a path forward that we should also keep in mind when we do our goals of what the city can do to address these concerns.
Put it on for next week?
Okay.
Good with
Yeah,
that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
And in the meantime, can we receive a copy of that original letter that was sent out to the original body, like Paul's letter?
It's in the-
It was
it's in the
not-
email.
Yeah, I sent that out, yeah. There
Because
were
I asked
actually
the
two
same,
letters.
Because I saw the draft.
I asked the same thing, like, can I see?
Yeah, I sent out, there were actually two letters. One was one from the senator. The second one was in response to, I think, the governor.
Yeah.
Sent a letter and Senator Quarterman and Senator Benson co-signed the letter, and I sent that one to you too.
So there was an original letter, but then there was a letter from the governor
senator-
addressing?
Yeah, and
Senator Quarterman?
I don't know if I ever got that governor's letter.
Yeah.
But let me see if we can't find that one, but then there was a response
So
letter.
then, and then he
Senator
responded
Quarterman
to
and
the
Senator
governor's
Benson
letter.
responded to the governor's letter, and you got that one too. So I'll,
Yeah, I'll go.
And in that draft letter, Scott broke down each of the work sessions, the dates for each of those work sessions. So that will help you go back to the meeting
Right.
notes and to the videos to see, because we had about 20 stakeholders. And it was really good
8 sessions.
information.
Yeah, 8
to-
sessions.
Yeah, because, I mean, we learned a lot. I hope the public watched them to learn about what the organizations are doing, the challenges, what's working well. I think that was a really good stepping point to what we do next. That was kind of like the goal. Okay, we got the letter, we talked about it, we are going to formally respond. Now that legislation is back in session, maybe a little bit timing wise, a little difficult to get Senator Quarterman and now newly appointed Delegate Schindler in to hear our concerns. I know we reached out to the county before the election, and they wanted to wait until the new body was in to see how they could help So this letter is like the stepping stone of like, let's bring all the partners back, at least our government partners, and see what we can do next.
And you also had in your orientation packet from November, the letter from Chief Kiefer that addressed a lot of the issues that not only were coming up from Senator Quarterman, but also were coming up from the county regarding funding and all of that. So you've already got that letter as well. I think that's part of the public record from back in September, October period.
So are we looking at, obviously, the original letter, but then are we also looking at the response from the governor and the response to that letter from Senator Benson and Senator Quarterman? Like, are we taking all that are we looking at,
It's up to you.
you know what I mean? Like, are we
The reason
looking
why,
at their response and the co-response and all that?
the reason why Scott brought it up, just so you can have the bigger picture
Yes.
of the
makes
conversations
sense.
that happened prior. Our action is to look at that draft letter after, obviously, looking at the videos and having your own thoughts to it. And if you're okay with that draft letter, we would sign it and send it to the senator. It'll be obviously a public record. That was the next step. But, it's to be fair, that's why we're giving everyone enough time to at least go back to that time point and see those videos, see the discussions. And if you're okay with the letter, then we'll sign it and send it to him. I'm okay with the letter because I helped draft it. But that's why we wanted to bring it back.
My only suggestion to the body would be that in the areas where where action would be suggested, whether it be action that the city takes or the state takes, that be mentioned in there. It could even be part of a goal as part of the public safety focus area to move those actions forward to address perhaps not just the specifics of what was in the letter, but also the overall environment that we operate in. Several of those concerns related to obviously the addiction issue, the homelessness issue, the juvenile crime issue. And a lot of that was involved in the actions that took place back in July that prompted the letter, but ones that still need to be addressed on not only a local, but a state basis. So I think part of that letter should be, what do you look to advise us to act on locally, but what we also want to see the state act on to help us in doing the job we need to do here. And I don't think that, the letter that I did was more just a synopsis of the 8.
Right.
But there was no action plan put to it because it never got that far because the election happened, so. All right, we'll put it on for next week.
Yep.
Good deal.
Anything
Yep.
else on that topic? No?
Yeah, like I said, I agree with the letter he wrote, but I also think it's important to work to find where we can go forward. I'm addressing that, but, this summer, a lot of those concerns in that letter were brought up to a lot of folks just campaigning in town. But, and I think that the senator was right to write it, but I also know that, there's different ways to tackle that. I appreciate that the letter was written and those concerns, were the number one issues with everybody I've talked to now. So I wasn't too concerned who did what before. It's kind of how we're gonna work together to move forward to address those issues.
Good?
Yes, sir. Okay.
All right, next up, Winter Recreation Programs 2025. Eric Ducky, Director of Public Works.
So many
And
gifts.
Amy Riley, Recreation Coordinator.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, we have something for you, but yeah, so you have to.
Wait.
You have to pay attention.
You have to pay attention. There'll be a quiz and then we'll give you a gift. So Amy Riley is our recreation supervisor. Park staff maintain the parks, Amy and her crew get people in the parks. So she heads up and watches with her, between her full-time, part-time, and seasonal staff. You know, we get people into the golf course, the pool, Hager House, the train museum, you know, lots of, the fit room and a bunch of others. And so we have our winter guide, and I thought, it would be a good time to bring her in, introduce her, and she can tell you a little bit about these. We put a guide out twice a year. This is a winter guide, and I guess we have a summer guide, that they're already working on, towards. And so I'll just turn it over to Amy, and she can talk about our programs.
Thanks, great introduction. Thanks for having me. So as Eric said, I wanted to come in and just talk a little bit about what we have going on this winter, which first up is the 12th annual Hub City 100 Miler. I do have the new t-shirt on this year. We're pretty excited about it, and we'll have some t-shirts for you at the end of this. But it kicks off this Friday, and we try to get together for the kickoff to walk our first mile as a team. It's not a requirement of the program to come this Friday, but it's a lot more fun if you do. We're meeting at the Fairgrounds Park at 5 o'clock to walk our first mile around the park. We also have a wellness fair in the fit room prior to the kickoff. Just come visit and see some other, and talk to some other businesses and local fitness places that, you know, can help you with wellness and fitness in the new year. So that's all this Friday, on January 17th. And the 100 Miler is in its 12th year. It was started as a fitness and wellness program to keep people moving in the winter months when it's really easy to not want to move at all. So we're in its 12th year. You win prizes every week by participating. There is an enrollment fee of $10, or you can pay $20 to get a cool t-shirt. We also encourage you to register with your dog, and your dog gets a bandana. You get a t-shirt, and again, you win some great prizes along the 100 days. And it all wraps up in April, and we have a big party at the end, walk our final mile together. And we'd love for you all to participate in the 100 Miler this year. So I hope to see you come out this Friday.
Yeah, the fit room is located at the Fairgrounds Park, in the upper part of the grandstand. So when you come in off Cannon Avenue, you just drive straight ahead. You'll see a sign there on the building. But it's a beautiful room that's, I'm not sure what size it is. You could probably fit 150 people in there, but we have a lot of programs there like yoga and belly dancing. There's all kinds of things you could take in there. There's gymnastics for kids. And so we've been pretty good to program that. And we're hoping to expand that and continue on with that, but they do a great job of getting people in there. And a lot of variety of different things. I mean, there's something for everybody in our recreation program, so.
Thanks, Eric.
Can you also mention the Facebook group
Yes.
to help encourage everyone to step out and walk and?
Yep, exactly. So being a part of the 100 Miler connects you to our Facebook accountability group. So you join the group and you all can share success stories, recipes, ways to keep each other motivated, how others are getting their miles in. The 100 Miler is primarily a walking program, but we also say 20 minutes of physical activity equals a mile. So on a snowy day, if you shovel your neighbor's driveway for 20 minutes, we say that counts as your daily mile. If you go sled riding for 20 minutes with your kids, that counts as your daily mile. So get connected on the Facebook group. All this information is on the city's website. We do have a page for the 100 Miler. You can also log on to that page to see all the great prizes that you can win during the 100 days, including some grand prizes at the end, which is fitness bikes, kayak. We have outdoor excursions from River and Trail Outfitters, and we're still collecting prizes as well. But it's a great program to see what you can win at the end for all your hard work.
So you should have gotten a winter guide. I assume it's in there, yes?
It is in there.
Yep. So that gives you an idea if you've never seen that before. But like I said, it's packed full of all kinds of programs, and I mean, like I said, there's something for everybody. I would think, but and this goes through
Till March.
Till March.
Yep, so we're already planning our spring, summer programming now, but like Eric said, this guide does go through the month of March, and we do have a lot of classes happening in the fit room. As he mentioned, yoga, step aerobics, belly dancing, booty yoga, gymnastics, ballet, and we're always looking for instructors to teach.
I know. When I'm signing invoices, I come through and I see some of these, I'm like, is this legit or what's going on
I've been
here?
into that class forever. It never works in my schedule.
Oh, no, yeah, that is Tuesday evenings, but
Yeah.
to also.
It don't work.
I do love the Halloween dog costume because 2 years ago,
God,
my
you're
dog
like, what is going on?
won
Oh.
prize from there, and former mayor Emily Keller gave him prize.
Awesome.
So Yeah.
Nice. That's a very popular
Yeah,
program.
it is a great
Yeah.
program.
What program was that, Sean?
The Halloween costume,
Yeah.
you definitely
Oh.
want to bring your dog there and.
Oh, yeah.
Not my dog. One, and, you know.
But again, the staff does a great job of getting lots of people in the parks and stuff, so.
Okay. Sure, we could probably make that. No, but another great perk of registering for the 100 miler, if you're a registrant, you get to check out some of these fit room classes that we offer. So you get to drop in for free to a variety of classes through the month of March, just by participating. So we try to offer a lot of perks. We want to get people, you know, in the fit room. We want to keep people moving in the winter. So we want to continue these programs. We wanted you to be aware of what we have going on. So our guide is also online for folks at home. They can click on the link and you can actually scroll through the guide digitally. And you can click on the class that you're interested in and register for the class straight through the website.
Great.
Yeah.
Are these like mailed throughout, like all the homes in downtown Hagerstown?
We don't do a direct mail piece because it can be expensive, but we do a good partnership with the schools. So they go home with all the kids in Washington County.
We place them here at City Hall and some of the other facilities, so as any guests come in, they just grab them, yeah, so.
Yeah. We do have a lot of people calling in too to ask for guides, so we do mail them if they're requested, but yeah, we have them available. So the last thing I wanted to mention too, although there's a lot of snow on the ground, our golf course is technically open when there's not snow. But I wanted to mention a fun promotion that we're offering for the 2025 recreation year, which is the new Divot Club card. So we have regular rates for golf. We have season memberships for residents, non-residents, and seniors. But we're looking to capture some folks who might not be able to purchase a year membership or may not be interested, but want to golf more often. So we're offering a frequent player card. So for $75, you purchase the frequent player card. It's good for a year, and it gives you access to discounted golf rates throughout the year of 2025. So we do have the flyer online for those watching from home, but all this information is on our Hagerstown Greens website. You've saved anywhere from $3 to $4 per round by purchasing the Divot Club card. And you'll get, I brought a copy of it, it's just a little card that you put in your wallet, and when you come golf for the day, you get to receive discounts, and you get 10% off merchandise in the clubhouse with the Divot Club. So we're hoping to just attract some more players and just get them to be golfing more frequently.
We're beginners.
We're beginners, yeah, so we're a great course for beginners.
Do you have any like youth leagues or?
We don't, but we do partner with the schools. They have their golf teams coming out. We do also partner with the YMCA. They do a youth golf clinic in the summer. But again, with our rec program, we're always looking for new ideas, new instructors, new opportunities to partner to offer more things like golf leagues for the youth, for sure.
So in the rec division, so you have Amy, and she has 2 full-time staff. Everybody else is either part-time or seasonal. So, you know, so we always need to partner with others because we just don't have enough staff to really run all these programs
Yeah.
and stuff. And so the partnership is very important to us for a lot of these programs. Just like the pool is actually, we have a contract with the YMCA, and so they run the pool for, we run the entry, you know, for people that pay when they come through, but the Y actually provides all the lifeguards and actually runs the program and stuff there. So it's the only way we can really make all these programs work. All right.
That's it. We hope to see
Any
you Friday
questions?
or some way along the way of these next couple weeks.
Well, I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Is it the same material as last time, the shirts?
Yes. Yep.
Because I wear that often.
Yes, it is the
So
same.
soft. So thank you for continuing the.
No, that's
whoever
important.
did it.
That is important because people have asked, are you going back to the polyester? Yeah. So these are special demo shirts. You'll also get another shirt by registering, but this is to kind of get things kicked off for the year.
So this Friday is not open to everyone?
It is open to everyone.
Yep. Thank you. Has registered.
Yes, and you can actually also, you can attend and register on Friday as well. Yep. So you don't have to be registered, but when you get there, Laura Oates, she's a local designer that we've been working with.
Gods.
Yeah.
Do we have Ryan Smetzer with us?
We do have Ryan, he will be there. You're going to be there to help lead the mile?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you see you in the back?
Oh,
You are on the back.
that's a great picture.
There's Ryan. That's a great picture.
You and the delegate are on the back.
Yeah. Even the delegate. It's really is the 100 Miler is our favorite, one of our favorite events, but seeing everyone be so competitive. I mean, people walk a lot. So I'm always like at 250 or something. I just do it because, you know, I'm trying to work on my health, but I don't try to win anymore.
Yeah, there
Because
are,
there's this, I mean, they're outside walking forever.
there is a lot, yeah, but biking also counts, so some of the people that are biking makes their miles seem to like go way off the charts, so.
So
Can
how
be a
do
little
you-
misleading.
So you can ride, you can bike?
You can bike, you can walk, bike, run, so you can either, it's all honor system really at the end of the day. You can either track it on a piece of paper, we actually have a form that you download, or you can link your smartwatch, Fitbit to Challenge Runner, which is our online tracking system, and that way you can see like how everybody compares. Not that it's a comparison, but you can kind of see how many people are tracking their mind.
You can't help it.
Never at the
Yeah.
top.
It.
I gotta get my life together.
Someone in this room is always at the top back there, Wes Decker. He's like always way off the
He's
chart.
always up
He's
there.
on the charts.
I'm hanging out with him.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
hope to see you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next up, Hagerstown Light Department, MDPSC case 9744. Nathan Freidinger, Director, Deputy Director of Electric Operations. Welcome.
Hello. Hello, thank you for having me this evening. So for the sake of the administration here, just let me start from the beginning.
Yeah.
All right. So the Hagerstown Light Department is one of 5 municipal electric companies in the state of Maryland. We are a nonprofit enterprise fund of the city of Hagerstown. We are also fully regulated by the state of Maryland. We serve roughly 17,500 customers with a defined service territory that was defined in the 1960s by the commission. We were limited to the 1943 corporate limits of the city of Hagerstown. The last operating rate increase that we requested became effective November 1st of 2005. It's over 19 years that we've adjusted any financial revenue to benefit our operations. On June 13th, we filed with the Public Service Commission for an 8.7% increase, which works out to be roughly about $2.3 million. The commission immediately suspended the application for 180 days so that their staff and the Office of People's Counsel could review for the just and reasonableness of the rate increase. They picked apart, looked at all the spreadsheets, all the numbers, asked a million questions, and just to familiarize yourself with the Office of People's Counsel, they are a state group. They advocate on behalf of the people. So we have, residential advocates working at the commission through this entire process. Following all these evaluations, about mid-October, we, the Public Service Commission, the OPC, we came to a settlement agreement. That agreement came to about 7.6% drop from the original ask of 8.7, which is roughly 1.98 million. What we learned during these proceedings and through rebuttal from the commission staff is that they do not recognize future investment in the electric utility in the rate structure. They only look at items that are in place and usable by the customer. They look at audited financials. So we were actually limited to the FY23 audited financials. to put in the, or to use for our calculations. The judge, Public Utility Law Judge, filed their final order, became effective December 27th of this year. It's only a few weeks ago. And that order stated that the new rates could become in effect January 1st, which has already passed. We decided to delay that to confront this council and to do testing of our billing system and so forth, to make sure things are working properly before we put anything into place. Once we get through this and things go into place, we're also going to look into our future planning, and it could be that we'll continue to do annual assessments using our consultants, and based on those results, we'll look into possible more frequent rate increases than waiting 19 or more years. To institute these, and maintain a proactive path forward and invest in our infrastructure. That's really what we need to do to move forward. And we're keeping this council advised as we move along. Included in the memo, there's a chart that shows the difference between the current rate structure and the proposed rate structure. You can see some of the increases for very low usage are rather high. We instituted a $5 customer charge. So every customer we charge, every residential customer will be charged $5 for every bill that they're given, plus the kilowatt hour usage. So the more you use, the percentages tend to go down. But in comparison to Potomac Edison, which is on the far right, you can see we're still maintaining a rate that's between 20 and 23% lower than our competitor outside of our service territory.
And just as what we talked about when we did the water and sewer rate increase, both of those increases were done, as Nathan said, with Light Department, it's been 19 years since a rate increase was done. Water and wastewater rates were,
We had a 5-year rate plan, and they were adjusted annually over our previous 5-year rate plan. We've actually been doing consistent rate increases probably since 2009, or rate adjustments, which
Right.
are typically a rate increase. And so what we want to do with the Light Department is follow
Right.
that same
pattern.
that same pattern. I do want to mention before Nathan moves on, when Nathan said, for the last 19 years, we've just been adjusting how we run our operation. What he's saying is we've deferred capital. We have not invested in our utility like we should. And we need to do that. The response time from the Hagerstown Light Department, as everybody knows, is fantastic. But the need to respond can only increase if we don't start investing in our utility. And that's what we've been deferring all of those years. We invest less than $1 million, typically less than $1 million a year, somewhere between $500,000 and $800,000 in our electric utility, which is just, doesn't even keep up with depreciation, really. So there's.
Yeah, in 2005, we had 40 employees. We're now down to about 26, 27. So that's how we were able to sustain operations this long. And then right now, we are currently in a deficit. I don't know how big it is, but we're in the red.
But before we institute those rates, even though it was approved by the previous administration, we wanted you all, as the new administration, to be aware that come February 1st, these rates were going to go into effect. And also to understand the process, that is much different on the electric side, being that we are regulated by the Public Service Commission, versus wastewater rates, which you have purview over.
Just a quick add, because
we already had the presentation earlier tonight, but Nathan, what, maybe a year ago, we already got commitment and formal approval by mayor and council with that past administration to do the AMI metering. So enabling us to change all of our electric meters because we haven't been able to adjust rates and we haven't been able to keep up. I've delayed that. So all of that wonderful things that we were just telling you real time, you can see your electric customers, you can see usage and reading. That cannot happen without them having the ability to get these AMI meters in place.
Right.
And our current meters are failing. We have meters out there that were installed in the 1950s, 1960s. And all these moving parts tend to slow down, and we're not bringing in the proper reads, the proper revenue. And there's annual requirements by the state to do a statistical analysis of every meter by, not every meter, but a certain quantity of meters by meter type. And we've identified 2 types so far that need to come off the system fairly quickly, within maybe 3 or 4 years. And that, if I remember correctly, that's probably about 20%-ish of our current infrastructure. So yes, as Nancy said, investment needs to be made. Not only meters, there's constantly transformers need replaced. There's a lot of money needed to keep the system up and running.
Can you help me understand the AMI readers? So they are just updated meters, correct?
So, right, and it's advanced meter reading system.
Okay.
So it's, right now we read manually. We have 3 meter readers that read all 17,500 meters a month by billing cycle within a 30-day period. And they use every second of that. I mean, it's quite a task. Where water has drive-by radio reads, we're looking at we won't need to do the drive-by system. It will be over radio read, hopping in and then coming back in on our fiber optic network right into the server housed at the light department. So we'll be able to just click on a computer and get the read right off the bat.
So I'm just trying to understand. The meters that you have on your home, right? Does it matter if they're older or newer meters? And these AMI readers are just the meters that they're not the meters at your home, correct?
So the AMI meter will replace the old meter.
It'll replace the meter at your home, yes.
So if you have a newer home, do you already have this newer meter?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, we are just now, they just recently finished the pilot. And like Michelle indicated, it's about $1 million a year, I believe, Nathan, to roll this program out for a period of 5 years. So once we're able to fund the program, then we'll move forward with replacing those older meters out that are failing with the new AMI meters. But those meters currently are not available, if you will. Do you want to mention the rates?
Yes, also included in the packet is a chart that usually lays out the rates. We'll publish this on our website for customers. It consolidates everything in one page rather than flipping through all of our many tariff pages. And also on the back side of that, you'll find a sample bill that we put together. With the difference being they added the top line, which would be the residential customer charge.
Anybody got anything? Any questions?
No. I would just add one thing. I'm not sure exactly what month, but Nathan will be bringing a proposal to the mayor and council from our rate consultant. It'll be looking at our FY '24 audited numbers and then our FY '25 budget to make sure that to make sure we're okay, because these rates are based on FY '23. So they're already, a year and a half behind.
Right.
So he will be bringing a proposal to the mayor and council for approval to continue to work with our consultant to keep our rate model current and to monitor our rates, I'm going to say, in a very responsible manner.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, thank you.
Nate, the amount of work it takes to do this is unreal, and Nathan carried most of that load and did a great job, so thank you for all the work you did.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask that number 7 be moved to probably an agenda in February to allow Councilman Alshire to participate.
Okay.
This was brought up due to a situation we had in town and that he became aware of, and it would be good if he was here to hear it. So it's not anything pressing that would cause a decision to be made or anything.
Okay, sounds
Okay?
good. Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. All right, city administrator comment.
All right, just a couple things, Mayor. Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. As you can see, we got a lot to do over the next few months. Budget is ramping up, and you'll start hearing more about that over the next couple of months. I would like to inform the council and congratulate Ms. Carolyn Brooks on some recognition she's going to be receiving on Saturday by the Maryland State Education Association during the MLK celebration. She's being recognized for her work in the community. So you see Carolyn out and about. Congratulate her on that award, pretty prestigious one in the state. Also, the City of Hagerstown is partnering with Main Street for a Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service on the 20th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in downtown Hagerstown. Volunteers will serve at a local nonprofit and give back to the community. Children in Need and CASA are offering volunteer opportunities, so anyone out there that would like to commemorate the day in public service and volunteer service, go to the website, contact Children in Need and CASA especially, but there'll be others that could use the work as well. That's it for me. Thank you.
Councilwoman Bell.
Man, we have had a long break. But I did have a couple of things to mention. It was nice to see the brewery. If anybody got the Hub City Brew, if anybody got to attend that, it was really nice. Also, me and Councilwoman Anderson did go down to DC to April Delaney's event. Met some really good people on her team that are really anxious to actually work with her. April suggested that she wanted to try to get here as soon as possible, but she also suggested that if we wanted to see her sooner than later, to maybe we could do a Zoom meeting, kind of put her up on the screen. I don't know if that's possible, if whoever did that.
Sure.
But she would like to do that. Also, we did the Cash and Dream, so that was really nice. We got to speak to the South High students. I know that Councilwoman Burnett and former Mayor Martinez have done that in the past. I have spoke to them before, but it's been on the opposite end as a business owner, so got to change roles for a second. And we were, all three of us were honored at the NAACP event last evening. It was an honor. It was an amazing event. And that's all I got.
Councilwoman Burnett.
Well, I'm struggling today. I'm sorry, guys. Next week I'll be better. But yeah, I just want to piggyback off of the NAACP event last night. Thanks again for honoring 3 Black councilwomen elected to office as a historic milestone. Former Takesha Martinez was there, obviously, to celebrate her as the first Black woman mayor. It's just important to just keep connected to the organizations that celebrate us and support us, even though, you know, we have this government role, but we always need that support system to make sure that we stay on the correct path, that we have good guidance and keep the true integrity within ourselves as we govern in this elected role. And congratulations again to the appointed delegate Schindler, Matt Schindler, our former councilman. I'm happy to have him back in office because he understands the challenges we as a city face, and he knows where we want to go. And I also offered that when we do have our goals streamlined and ready to be published, that we definitely send that out to the delegation so they're aware of what we got going on. Thank you.
Councilman Flaherty?
I hope Hagerstown had a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, and we're ready to get off on the right foot for 2025. Up City Brewery was awesome. I was there for their soft opening on Friday night. And of course, you know, congratulating Matthew for his appointment to 2B and looking forward to working with him and this new administration and everything else. So.
Councilwoman Anderson?
I want to wish everyone a happy new year and pretty much repeat what we've been repeating these last 5 minutes. There's been a lot of congratulations. First one is to Schindler. You well-deserved and much appreciated. Can't wait to see you and work with you. Another congratulations to Menija Events. So glad to see you, you know, celebrating your success. You are well-deserved that as well. Another congratulations to Gio's Pizzeria. I did miss out. I'm terribly sorry. The snowstorm did get to me, but I have not forgotten you. Another congratulations to the 2 beautiful councilwoman members that are here and to former Mayor Takesha Martinez at the double NACP last night. And last but not least, I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Yes, thank you again, Paul, for inviting Erica and I to speak out to the Cash and Dreams events. And I think that's about it. Wanted to make sure.
Last week, I was able to attend the legislative reception down in Annapolis. Good friend Scott here was able to introduce me to a lot of mayors out through the state, and it was great to network. It was a great experience. Number 2, Councilwoman Anderson and I were able to do the ribbon cutting for Menija, is it balloons? Events, right. And it's always great to see a new business open inside our city limits. It's a great thing to see. Lastly, everybody has a letter here. It's a letter of support from Andrew Eshelman, the Director of Public Works, Washington County Government. It's addressed to Secretary of Transportation, U.S. Department of Transportation. It's all, I'm not going to read the whole letter to you, but it's right here. And our note at the bottom is it's a federal grant. It's 100% funded and does not require a local match on anything. So it's just a request for a letter of support from all of us.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're good.
Yes. Okay. That's it. That's it for me. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Wait.
I was going to ask you if you had any questions here soon. but-
Wait, there's one more thing.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. Is it Michael Kuiper? He has the same last name. Sister
The
City.
ambassador for Sister City.
Kiefer. So we
met with him.
We did meet with him.
Yeah, Mike.
Yes, and he would like to bring something forward, which is a flag that would combine both Hagerstown, Maryland with Hagerstown, Indiana. And the flags, if we approve, one would be placed here and one would be placed in Indiana. And he does have 2 final images that were created by students at the Barbara Ingram program. He would really appreciate the time to be invited in to kind of, give some feedback to, everything he has put forward as far as him being the ambassador for the 2 cities. And he has like an extreme amount of involvement of things that he's crafted and found. And so I'm not sure if you guys want to all approve to have him come in and actually share that story. Is that something that you guys want to move
Definitely.
forward with. He's looking for actually a feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The flag he wants to be, the flag he wants our opinion on it. It's only the picture that I showed you, and it's another picture. One just has Hagerstown, Maryland, Hagerstown, Indiana, and the other one just doesn't have the names. He was up in the air if we should have the flag present names or not. I suggested the names. Caroline feels like Anderson, Councilmember Anderson feels like it shouldn't. Just feel like it would kind of give people an idea, because some people would be like, what is that? If they don't know it, if they aren't familiar with that, we are a sister city. So he already has talked to Barbara Ingram's. He wants a student from there to do it, which I said, I feel like you should make it kind of, not necessarily a contest, but give all the schools an opportunity, because I know a lot of schools always feel like Barbara Ingram's gets all the art, and there's so many probably other talented artists in the North High, South High. So he kind of already has put in some footwork. He just wants our approval on that one concept as far as the flag.
And I think he did mention that Hagerstown, Indiana has our flag currently in their presence at their city council.
Yeah.
And
So
I asked
he-
him
yeah.
if they had their own flag, and he didn't think that they did.
Yeah.
Do it in February?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put it on the draft agenda then for February.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll relay the message to him.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion or questions or anything before we adjourn? That, we are adjourned.
This stuck.